no matter what, for what year is this? Golly. So for at least 25 years, I've always at least shook your hand at least once a year because it was at a golf tournament that you were supporting, right, that we were putting on or something like that, where it was, you were always there. We could always depend on old TC to be there, support us and everything else. But I should know this. It's a question I've always kind of had in the back of my mind because I'll hit you up, hey man, you're like, yeah, I'm out in Arizona at Fall League. I'm over here. I'm over there. Right. Like what is, my son and I go to Tampa every year for spring training. It's one of our spring traditions. So like when does, I know you do have to travel, but you're here often and you coach, right, like folks, he coaches his son's, he's coached his son's baseball team the entire time you did that.
I try not to, but I always get roped back into it. So.
He's always involved in giving back into the community and big on family. Your wife's the real superstar of the family, right?
Absolutely.
Just like
100%.
mine.
Yep.
So to walk me through, like, let's just start on January 1 and walk me through, like, you probably have the same trips a lot of times you got to go and so on and so forth. Talk about that.
So we'll back it up a little bit. So usually the first week of December is the winter meetings, Major League Baseball winter meetings. And we have a bat meeting there that we go to. That's a time for us to kind of sit down with agents. There's a clubhouse kind of little trade show, so we get to see all the clubhouse guys. And that's kind of the start of our season with it. So that December 7th, December 8th area. And so we'll get cranking then, go through all the approval process we have to go through every year with Major League Baseball. And then, I
was going to ask that too. Yeah. So like not every bat can be major. No, you got to be major league approved.
Yeah. You have to be major league approved. That started, well, it's always been around. The new process started about 2009 with what we do. And as far as, where we procure our wood from, how we process it, what finishes we're using, all that stuff's recorded now. The ink dot test, which we can talk about that here in a little bit. Who we're supplying to, how many bats we sold the last year. We get all the fun information, like what our breakage rate was at the big league level, where our sales are at the big league level.
They track the breakage rate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The hitter has nothing to do with that.
Oh, no. They are not shy of telling you who breaks the most bats in the big leagues.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's all in December. When we move into January, then I'll start setting up our spring training stuff. And so I usually handle the big league stuff. My other rep is a guy named Coy Adams, who's fabulous at his job, younger than I am. So he kind of speaks the language of the younger guys a little bit better. So he's my minor league guy right now. That he'll go out. Yeah. I'm almost 50, man. Like you got 18, 19-year-olds looking at me like I'm crazy. So, we make a really good team as far as handling the big leagues and the minor leagues. And so, but that does put us on the road for about 4 weeks, during spring training. So,
okay.
I had two boys that one just finished up at Roan State playing. The other one is a senior in high school and going to Carson Newman next year. So I try to balance that schedule out where I can come back and see them. Thank you. Come back and didn't screw them up too much. Come back and see them play as much as possible with it. And so I hit 30 teams in 21 days this spring.
Wow.
With it between Florida and Arizona.
I want, talking about just the kind of guy that you are, you've always been just a few years ahead of me in life altogether, whether it be raising kids. My son plays in the Midland TN family here. That was, obviously because of Lance Wascom, but I was introduced to it with you first,
right?
Prior to that, and but you were involved in that organization. It's an all volunteer nonprofit. Yep. Were you one of the founding?
I was.
Members? Yeah, one of the founding members.
We started as Showcase Baseball. Tanner's 21, so that'd be 13 years ago.
That's crazy.
With it, and very fortunate that we had a good group of guys with us, and like anything else, families move away, so we lose some guys. And as far as like the core group that sat around and tried to make good decisions for the kids, and then probably 6 years ago, we decided that hey, this has gotten to the point where it needs to be more than just 4 people sitting around a table drinking beers, talking baseball. And so we started an official board. We were Showtime Baseball at the time. And Midland came on board 4 years ago, reached out to us. The nonprofit side lined up with what they were trying to do and what we wanted to do. They gave us a little name recognition that we didn't have previously. And then plus, there are some kids in the Middle Tennessee area that even at younger ages are good enough to go play at the national level. And so Midland came in with the national teams. And so we actually host one of the national teams now. But we send kids at all age levels to all their national teams to go play in national events. So that was just another kind of piece that we could offer to the kids and their families to kind of, hey, if this is the journey you want to go on, like we talked a little earlier, bigger, stronger, faster, this is available to you now where it wasn't before. And we've grown to 20, I think we're at 21 teams right now and looking to go to 24, 25 next year.
It's awesome. And like literally, it was before the start of, it was at the end of Ethan's 13-year-old season. So last year was 14. So it was at the end of the year, but season before last, I'll never forget it because I wore a piece of my sidewalk out on the phone talking to you because he had just finished his 13U season.
Right.
I'm at a position in life where work's really pulling me over here and there's some big opportunities. I don't want to miss anything, and I'm not going to miss anything, but like if I could be relieved of some responsibility, so do I hire somebody to help? Do I hire a coach? What do I do with the team? And I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what a good resource for information, so I called you.
Yes, you did.
And sure enough, and it's funny because you said, dude, the hardest season is 15. That's the one I'm doing right now.
That for me, that was I don't want to say the worst. That was the toughest. From a kid standpoint, we've all been there. We've all been 15, 16 years old where dad doesn't know what he's talking about anymore. And, I think I may have told you, for me, it got to the point where I wanted him to hear other voices.
Yeah.
If it was something that he truly loved doing and wanted to pursue after high school, I didn't want to be the guy that killed it for him. And so I carried my older one through 15 and stepped away. And I would say within 2 months, I knew it was the best decision I could make because I saw him immediately take off and what he was doing. I actually saw his love for the sport grow like right in front of me with it. And so with my younger one, the plan was to go through 12 at Cooperstown. Unfortunately for him, and he still talks about this, his 12-year-old season was COVID. So he never got to go to Cooperstown. So the trade-off was like, all right, I'll come back at 13, head coach, and then I'll be done with it. Then I'll be done with you as a head coach. We made it through 13. I was done. He came back in and said, no, I want you to coach again. I said, no, I'm not going to be the head coach. Kind of the same way, work's picking up. You got your older brother's in high school. I want to go do all this. And so I agreed to kind of be a de facto assistant coach, like when I could be there. That hasn't changed. So I get roped back in every year with him. If a coach can't be there, he'll volunteer me and then call me and be like, hey, can you be here in an hour? Like you're coaching today. But what it's done for he and I, for our relationship, for my younger one, is because I'm no longer his head coach, like our baseball talks have blown up. And for, if you've been through this before with a kid, like that, those baseball talks turn into life talks with it. So we may be talking about something that happened in a high school game and he's upset about it. And I look at him like, what are you going to do when you get in the real world, man? Mm-hmm. Like you made an error. Okay. Big deal. Right? If you get into the real world and you've got a real job and you screw something up and you keep thinking about it and pouting about it and you keep screwing it up, then you're in trouble. You screw it up once, get your head up, fix it, and move on. That's how this world operates. So from that standpoint, it's been really, really cool. Like our growth is like our relationships at a great spot. And I can go back to when it's like, no, I'm still around, but I'm not going to be your coach anymore.
Right.
Is when that really took off with it. In his eyes, at least I think, he doesn't think I'm as dumb as what other people may think, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
But it's been good. So, my advice to all dads out there that are coaching is definitely do it because you'll build these core memories, not only for your kid, but for you too. And then just be aware of when the time is right to step away.
Yeah, man. It's like I say, for me, it was, again, you always wonder. One of the coolest things was, I had always been Ethan's coach until he went and played school ball that first year, and he had and his coach in school was fantastic. And I actually, same thing. I watched his love for the game it grow. Our talks changed totally different. They were totally different perspectives. And now it's like, I'm can I get his coach to coach his summer team too, type thing. Like, how could I just want more of that. Like, I want to get him in that situation more.
Well, like I said, for me, the big thing is I wanted him to hear other voices. Like, I'm confident in what I know about the game. I'm confident that I can relay it to him or any other kid. But there's multiple ways to skin a cat, as the old saying goes, right? So what I've learned over the years as a coach is that I may tell your son one thing one way. You may come in and tell your son the same thing but a different way, and he's not going to know what I'm talking about, but he'll understand how you're saying it.
That's right.
And so I think what makes a really good coach is somebody that understands that kids do learn in different ways, that they need to have that other voice. Even if they are saying the same thing, it may register differently with them. And so for me, being able to step back, let those other voices kind of come in, and then be in a situation where we can sit down and talk about all of it, has really, for him, as a late bloomer, a big kid, that was really the difference maker the last couple of years for him in getting him to where he is now and where he's going next year.
Staying on the topic of family, honestly, man, I've been keeping up with you and your wife for so long because, somebody told me, Brad, it was my buddy Brad, he told me, he said, Nick, if you want to get great at anything, just study the people that were great at it before you, right? So I watched you coach. I watched you lead what seemed to be a happy career doing something that you loved. I watched your wife get featured on Top 40 Under 40 and all those things. And I see you guys having date nights and going on vacations, just the two of you guys with friends and family stuff. I saw it all, and I'm like, he's doing it all.
Right.
He's doing it all. And that's hard.
Super hard. I mean, because the first time you go on a date night when you got little kids, like you only talk about the kids.
Yeah.
And that's when our kids were younger, we were very fortunate that my parents were close by and her parents were close by. And so we had built-in babysitters. And I remember my dad saying, it's like, when you go out tonight, don't talk about the kids. And so you're 10 minutes in a dinner just staring at each other. What the hell do we say? Like, our whole life is our kids, right? And so it's kind of this building process that, we talk about relationships in work, relationships in coaching, but, the relationship with your spouse, it takes work as well.
Yeah.
And so, it's those baby steps to where, we started off with a date night once a month. Then, the kids' sports activities crept up, and it wasn't quite as common, or it wasn't scheduled the way it should have been. And then you're like, all right, let's get back in this. And then all of a sudden you realize, hey, our kids can drive, so we don't have to take them everywhere. So we can scoot out to an early dinner, or we can take a weekend vacation. But yeah, highly recommend that with your spouse, especially if you have kids that are playing sports, because that will consume your life 100% if you let it.
No doubt, man. No doubt. What's in case you guys didn't know, there's people watching.
Yeah.
And you guys were whether you meant to or not, you great leaders in that, because that if anything, it just said, dude, if he can do it, I can do it. It let us know that it was possible, because again, those burdens can get really heavy.
Oh, 100%. And I think I appreciate you saying that. But I think for us, it was one of those things that, and our kids have primarily been baseball players. They played all kinds of sports, but that was what they've always gravitated to. And so we kept finding ourselves, hanging out with baseball families at baseball fields. And so I couldn't tell you when it was, but it was like, it was a conscious effort to go, hey, let's take these group of people that we're with a lot and we really, really enjoy being around, and move it away from the baseball field and see what happens. Whether it's a date night or a dinner, or you just meet at a bar for drinks after work. And so that's where our core group of friends kind of started and have kind of come through. You're never going to get away from the kid conversation, right? And so the more commonalities you have, the more that those relationships grow. And that's been kind of, our big things, the Roses, the Overstreets, whoever, those are the people that, our kids have come through this. Most of them are in college now. Some of them are graduating college now. It makes you feel really old. But just kind of being on that life journey with them, that all started from this commonality. It's been really cool.
Man,